Marshawn Lynch to the Raiders. Now, he's from Oakland, and I was thinking to myself, there's a lot of...
He's not only from Oakland.
He is
because everyone... Yes.
He is Oakland.
Yes, he is. I mean, he's a pure representation of what Oakland's like. A lot of cities, they want to be depicted in a certain way. But it was interesting because I talked to Gary Payton last night at the Lakers-Cavs game, and I talked to him about that. I asked because him and Marshawn are tight. They're from the same little area.
Oh, Gary Payton, the great Sonics.
The glove.
Yeah.
So he was like, yes, he's absolutely going to play. He's been working out, and he can't wait to represent the silver and black.
So he'll only play for the Raiders?
Yes.
You know, it's interesting. I was thinking to myself, I'm not really interested in Marshawn, but I think there sometimes is value if you can get a player that emotionally can ramp, because Marshawn's not going to give you 28 carries a game. And I don't know if this is, you can personalize this, but it's like you grew up a Buckeye fan and then you played for the Buckeyes.
Yes.
There is some value as an athlete. Like when you were a Viking, when you left the Vikings, are you a Viking fan?
I'm a Vikings fan because there's so many other things. And what the state meant to me and my real story, it has Minnesota in it. And it doesn't have the Vikings. It has their organization putting their hands around me, realizing this kid is lost and we're going to try to help him. And that's based on the substance abuse. So it was different. My experience in 12 years there, it changed my life. You know, I wish we could have won a championship for him. We weren't able to do that. So I'll always be fond of the people of Minnesota in a way that other athletes won't be, because they were so responsible with my life getting turned around.
Did you feel they saved your life?
Oh, there's no doubt. Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. There's no, I don't end up right here in this seat if I don't go to Minnesota.
What would you do? I made the argument with Colin Kaepernick that Kaepernick is Tebow. He is Manziel. He is Vince Young. He is not great enough for me to, I'm not going to build around him. If I wanted him as a backup, he could be a backup. But for certain positions in sports, if you're going to be my backup quarterback, you can have zero baggage.
Yes.
And I mean, like I've said this about Tebow. For years and years, people would get mad at me. And I said, Tebow's not good enough to bring that media frenzy.
Right.
I don't even want it from Brady, but he ain't good enough. There's a lot of people with Kaepernick, there's a racial component to the story. Like when you look at Kaepernick, if you're a GM, you now, Cris Carter, are a GM, and his agent calls. What do you say?
Do you want to sign him as a starter or as a backup? Like, first of all, do you think he's a starter?
You're the GM. What would you say?
I think he's a backup.
So do I.
I don't think he's good enough to be a starter. Now, is he better than some starters? Yes, he's going to be better than some starters, but I've already seen him in the league for multiple years. I haven't seen him grow.
That's my issue.
So now, at one point, do I cut the cord and start putting this time into someone else? You know, so we've seen him out there. His game has digressed. What do we think it's going to go down then come back up? Like, that's the bet. Like, is he going to be a pocket passer? Because he's never going to be as athletic as he was 4 years ago.
No, guys aren't.
And he hadn't worked on his body. Cam Newton is as athletic and will be in 2 years as he was 4 years ago, because he works on his body. You can see he does explosive exercises. He lifts a ton of weights. Like, you can see the way he takes care of his body. Now, Cap, with the injury, his body, he's a smaller version of himself.
Yeah, and he was never a great pocket guy.
No. So as that, and then also from an intellectual standpoint, what does he bring to the quarterback room? So if he's not a starter, how is he going to have influence on the starter and or a younger backup? Is he going to help them with the mental aspect of the game? And with him, I don't think I get that. So that eliminates him from, I don't think he's a starter. I don't think he brings the intellectual capacity to be able to help the room as quarterback. So for me, the teams that he can go to in the situation, it's just a small bucket.